CL Brown, you're up first. Go ahead.
Hi, Roy. I was wondering, just with this young team, you guys, after this game against Pittsburgh, have a week off before your next scheduled game. So do you handle it any differently than you may in the past? Like, I was just curious, like what your plan was practice-wise to handle these young guys.
Well, we don't have any idea if we're going to have a week off. I mean, we put out this schedule after the ACC gave it to us. I think it was in late August or early September, and it has changed. Ours not quite as bad as everybody else's, but we're not playing Central, and we did play Central. We had 3 other opponents that we were scheduled, and we changed. We played Notre Dame on a different date. So I think that we're going to wait until Wednesday and make a decision what we're going to do, because I still think there's a possibility that we have an open date on Saturday. Who knows if we could play another ACC team or what we're doing. And so we're not making any plans publicly for sure on what we're doing until we find out. And in these days, you have to be nimble on your feet and be able to make adjustments.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Brendan Marks, go ahead.
Hey, Roy, I was just sort of hoping generally to get your thoughts on Justin Champagnie and the growth you've seen from him just over from last season to this year and the ways he's improved.
Well, I don't see the growth because he kicked our butts both times we played him last year. I thought he was pretty doggone good last year, but he's really playing at a high level. You're averaging 20 a game in double figures in our league. You're really doing something. I saw a graphic, maybe it was in their game that I watched Saturday. I don't know, guys, but there are only like 5 guys who have averaged 20 and 10 in our league over the past 10 or 12 years. So maybe even more than that. But he's really playing at a high level. But he kicked us. He was extremely important. The game here, he made a couple of threes, and I don't have the stat sheet in front of me, but I know he was successful against us in both games. So what everybody else is seeing, I felt like I saw last year to start with. Let me see. I just got out. He had 22 against us last year here, and he got in foul trouble at Pitt and only had 5. But so I saw him get 22 last year against us, and it was a very impressive 22. He had 4-7 from 3-point line and had 8 rebounds and 2 blocks. So he had a big time game against us here last year, and it's something that we know he's having a great year.
Josh Graham, go ahead.
Coach, usually around the 15, 16 game mark in a normal year, the rotation becomes a little bit more defined for you. Obviously, it's a different kind of year, but do you think going into the final month of the regular season or close to it, you're starting to get an idea for what your rotation is going to be for the tournament?
Yes and no. I mean, you answered it yourself. This is a different year. I've been saying 6 freshmen in our top 10. Now we have 7 in our top 11 because Anthony Harris only played 4 games last year and is able to get a medical hardship. But it depends on how you play in games and depends how you play in practice. I even had Garrison out of the lineup out of the starting lineup a couple of games, and no one else has done it consistently enough that they can feel secure. I mean, I've had some guys that, when Marcus Page was a senior, if somebody had beaten him out, I would have thought we were qualified for the NBA because he had deserved that for all those years. But how you play in the games, how you play in practice. I did something Saturday against NC State that I don't do a lot of. I was taking guys out on turnovers because you just got to stop turning the daggum basketball over. But the guys know they're going to play. They just don't know who's going to run out there early. And we mix it up every single day in practice. I'll say first 5 whites, second 5 whites. Okay, now mix it up. And we do that every day. So the only thing that helps in starting lineup is that some places do still announce the starting lineup. But so I've got a lot of things I'm concerned about. The starting lineup is not one at all.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Jerry DePaula, go ahead.
Okay, thanks for your time, Coach. I was just wondering about Puff Johnson. I understand he has a foot injury, and I was wondering, is he going to travel to Pittsburgh? And how kind of progress has he made this season for you guys?
Jerry Puff has done well and has gotten better and better, and he's going to be a really, really good player for us long term. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but he's going to be a really, really good player. His older brother Cam was what you'd call a late developer, late bloomer, and who knows if Puff is going to do that at that level, and he may develop even quicker than Cam did. But he hurt his foot, jammed his toe or something. I think he's jammed it. I think they're calling it a sprained toe, but he was in a boot during the game yesterday. He was not in a boot, but he did not practice. I don't see him practicing today. We will still take him to Pittsburgh with him unless our trainer tells me this afternoon that that would not be the proper thing to do. But love him to death as a kid and is going to be a big time player.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Jerry.
Ross Martin, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, after the game on Saturday, you said the freshman class is as good as a class that you've ever brought in your life. So I wonder if you could elaborate on that and kind of compare this class to maybe some of your other UNC classes. You know, the THI Lawson, Wayne Ellington class comes to mind. Just how they rank up in terms of freshmen and what they've done.
Well, they're doing well, and you have to understand when I say that, you're talking about 6 guys. I mean, the best recruiting class I ever had in my life was Nick Collison, Kirk Heinrich, and Drew Gooden. They all 3 committed to us early, started as freshmen for the most part. Drew stayed 3 years, and Nick and Kurt stayed 4, and they're all 3 drafted in the top 12 or 13 picks. Then we had Wayne and Ty and Brandon, and those 3 guys were the best point guard, shooting guard, and power forward in the high school rankings, and they were fantastic for us, and all 3 played in the NBA. But this is a 6-man class, and like I say, said in the last question, we had Anthony Harris to him. It's a 7-man class, but we needed a big class coming in. We lost several players, lost some seniors, lost 2 grad transfers. 2 or 3 of these guys have started at times during their freshman year, maybe 4 of them, I guess. Caleb and RJ, Kerwin and Dayron have all started games. So it has been a big time class for them, but I don't think you can fully compare a 6 or 7-man class to a 3 and 4. But again, those 3 classes, those classes that I talked about early, with one from Kansas and then the guys here with Ty and Wayne and Brandon were higher rated. We don't have anybody in this class that was rated as high as Ty, Wayne, and Brandon were collectively, or the Tyler Hansbrough class, but it is 6 guys. And so the numbers also makes it something that appealing because we needed numbers, and 4 of them have started at one point and are going to be very, very good players.
Thank you.
Mike Waters, go ahead.
Roy, what are the differences that you see in Quincy Guerrier's game from last year to this year?
You talking about the young man that plays at Syracuse?
Yes, sir.
Well, he was good against us one game last year, but he's been fantastic this year. He may have as many double-doubles as anybody in the league, but we're getting ready to play Pittsburgh, so I'm not thinking about Guerrier very much right now. Now, if you ask me that before we play Syracuse again, I'll give you a better answer, but I think he was the leading scorer and leading rebounder in the game here and was a tough matchup for us, and he's had some big-time games for him.
Thank you.
Walken, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to unmute there. Roy, if you get to March and you feel like you're safely in the NCAA tournament at that point, do you anticipate that there would be any discussion on your part about skipping the ACC tournament just due to the fact that the NCAA is going to require 7 consecutive negative COVID tests for teams to participate in Indianapolis?
You know, I heard somebody, may have been you, asking Jimmy the same kind of question. I'm not going to think about that right now. I'm not going to worry about it, be concerned about it. If you start thinking about those kind of things, you're wasting your time and that you should be spending on your team. I'll also go back to what I heard Gino Arema say the other day. Gino said, guys don't get, or he was talking about the women, but it's the guys too. All the cases, or not all of them, I'm sure, but a huge majority of those come away from the basketball court. What they do is socially is where they end up most of the things happening. So Gino said that, and he's a smart guy, and I'd probably listen to what he said. He probably looked into it a little bit more, but so that would mean that playing games is not the biggest deal. It's what they do the other 22 hours of the day that they're not playing a basketball game. But haven't thought about it, won't think about it, don't care to think about it. I need us to play as well as we can play, and for me to do everything I can to get our team ready to play a single game, whether or not it's the ACC tournament or not. But those people that are paid to think about those things, they will. And when they come to us and ask for an opinion, if they do, then I'll give them an opinion, because we'll be closer at that time.
Kiara Luck, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Doing well. You hope you are.
I'm good, Coach. Thank you. I was just wondering, how have you grown as a coach and as a person this year? Of course, we're doing a COVID year, but also, learning with such a young team, and how have you become a better coach in all of this?
Well, I've grown many ways, thankfully, not too many pounds wise, but it is. And we've gone through some things last year and this year that fortunately I haven't gone through very many times. And I think that makes you question everything, and perhaps that's good. I like to have confidence in everything we're doing, and to be reassured that we're doing the right thing. I enjoy those years a heck of a lot more. But I do think when you're having, again, 6 or 7 freshmen, it takes more time. You've got to explain more clearly, tell things more clearly, repeat things more often, make sure they understand when you're talking to player A, they should be listening, so you don't have to say the same thing to player B a few minutes later. But I do believe that it's a group that wants to learn, but it's not like, when we had teams with Marcus Page and Joel Berry and Theo and Bryce and all those guys who had been here 2 or 3 or 4 years, and you could go into things a lot quicker, expect more things out of them. And with this group, we cannot. And it's, I'm always trying to make sure that we have covered everything we need to cover. And yet you think about it and say, boy, I wish I'd have done a little more of that. So I think a younger team makes you be more inquisitive about your own performance, perhaps, than an older, more experienced team that you expect to handle different things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll take one final question from Kit Coons.
Yeah, good morning, Roy. For much of this season, we've been dominated by talk of how the so-called blue bloods are down. You guys, Duke, Kentucky, a few others. And yet I look at the numbers, and you've won 5 of your last 6. Your turnovers are down. You're shooting better, well, save for the free throws Saturday. Are you guys flying under the radar, and is that even possible for a program of your stature right now? And are you pretty happy about that?
Several things there, Kip. I think, am I happy about us getting better? Yes. Happy about us being under or on top of the radar? I really don't know. I think that it is hard for a Kentucky, a Duke, or a Kansas, or a Villanova, or North Carolina. Is always hard to be under the radar, because regardless of, you're like Jimmy Larranaga, you got 5 guys sitting over there in street clothes or something. And that's a problem we had last year. But I do think we're getting a little bit better each day, a little bit better. And I want it to be at a faster pace, but I keep going back to the same thing. But it's very truthful with 7 freshmen in our top 11 guys. We have to be much more meticulous about what we're doing, and take our time a little more, give them a little more instruction. So I think if you go back and look, and I haven't done it, people tell me, and I start thinking about it and remember it, but our teams have most years really gotten better as the season has gone along. We've had a 12-game winning streak a few years in the league, a few years back. We've done some good things. Our 09 team started out losing the first 2 conference games, and I think only lost two more games the whole season. So I think our guys do get better. But the idea of the blue bloods, I really haven't thought about that, Kip. And it's in today's game with kids leaving so early, and in today's games with transferring being so easy and that there's no negative to it whatsoever, teams are going to change dramatically each year. And if you get a group of freshmen that are going to be really, really good if they stay around, or if you get a group of freshmen who are really good right now, there's a big difference there. And so I think that what's going on with the guys not sticking with their plan, staying with the places, sort of surprises you a little bit. We didn't have anyone transfer that started, except for the fact that I think Jeremiah Francis started maybe 1 or 2 games for us last year. But things change dramatically, I think, from year to year, so much more than they used to. If you had a 6-man class, 7-man class like we do this year, you would be concerned about the number of scholarships that you could give out the following year. I don't care about that. I'd like to give out 13 more and see what happens.
Roy, thank you for the time today. We'll see you next week.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
We will bring on